Hello again, everyone, and welcome back again to another video. So today we're going to do another gaming PC. We're going to use a case that I've kind of used before. It was sent to me originally by DeepCool. It was the CH560. That one was in black. The CH560 we're going to work on today is the white version, and it is also the digital version, as you see right here. Now you can also see that I've got a couple. I got a ruler right there, and I got my tape measure right there. So obviously I'm doing some measuring. I'm going to do a little bit of finessing on this case on the bottom part there. I'm going to do a couple things with it that I kind of talked about in the first video that I would have kind of liked to do with this case. Uh, this one is not going to be up for sale. This one's actually already sold. It's sold to a kid named Alex. It's going to be his gaming PC that we're doing today. Uh, had to go with this case just because I love it so much from the last time I worked on it, and I was really, really impressed with it. You know, not with just the fans that are in there, but with the room, with the GPU fucking bracket there on it and everything. So that's what we're going to work on today is this gaming computer for Alex. Uh, so let me cut the scene here and kind of get, well, I'll tell you what, I'll show you what I'm doing here. Um, I'm going to do something with this portion right here. Uh, the CH560 case, of course, has like a glass that goes up from like here to here. And then right down in here, it's kind of a mesh. As I had talked about the first time that I had worked on this case, I kind of wanted to do something with this. And a white case is a really good case to be doing that on because the RGB really, really shows here. Let me flip this around this way so you can have a look at this. See if we can get some light down in here. As you can see, let me zoom in here. Maybe. Ooh, nope, this is blocking it. Sorry, guys. Let me put that behind there so you can see that. This is being held on by actually two screws, one here and one here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and remove those two screws from here and get this front display thing taken off so that I can work on this a little bit more. And then after I'm done with that, then we'll show you the parts that are going into this build. Some of the parts as we're going along. I'm actually still waiting for a couple parts to get here. They should be here soon, and I haven't gotten the GPU yet. Alex is actually, he's been making payments to me for this, and I told him, when we group up enough, then I'll, get some parts going for it, and the GPU is going to be the last thing there, and that's the last thing he needs to pay me for, which should be coming up pretty soon here. So obviously this video is going to be, broken down, but what you'll see is going to be like a continuity version of this build. But I do have all the rest of the parts for this build. So let me shut up here and cut this scene, and I'm going to work on this a little bit, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so as you can see, I've got the first modification done that I wanted to do on this case. And not even adding RGB yet, you can see kind of what it's going to do here. You can see kind of a little rainbow effect going on there as it kind of splits up the lights and stuff like that. What you're seeing there, the little round rings, is actually the ring light from my thing here. But yeah, I see how it splits it up like that. This is a holographic vinyl wrap is actually what I'm using here to get this effect on here that you're seeing. Pretty cool, huh? And that's, like I said, without RGB in it. So this is going to look pretty badass. Now, the reason I like using the holographic stuff for stuff like this is because of the way that it bends the light, like you're seeing right here. So that's going to look pretty cool when I put a strip down there. And hopefully the effect we should get is something that's going to fill up that area where that mesh part is on the side panel here. That was the whole purpose of me doing this. Now all I have to do is take this, of course, and screw it back in and get on with the regular build. So yeah, that's looking pretty good there. So let me go ahead and finish this up, and then I'll get out some of the parts here, and we'll talk about that and what we're going to do and what we're going to put into this build. And I'll see you here in just a second. Alrighty, I got all the parts here piled up on the workshop's table. I'll let you see what some of the stuff is. Not everything's here, but most of the stuff is here. Starting with the memory, we got some Corsair DDR5 Dominator memory. This stuff is pretty sweet. You can actually change this RGB thing off of here and pull it off and put some regular fins on there if you want. It's kind of a swappable thing. And from what I understand, you can even download like some templates and 3D print your own tops for these if you like. So that's actually pretty neat stuff. This was sent to me by Corsair. Actually, I want to thank Corsair for sending this over to me for this build. Pretty nice stuff here. So this actually, we're going to set this hopefully at 6,000 speed, and that's what we're going to run this at. So obviously this is going to be a AM5 build that I got going on here, if you haven't figured that out already. Our SSD is a 2 terabyte Solidium. I guess that's how you say them. I don't know. I'm guessing. But that's what we're using, a 2 terabyte NVMe drive in there. Our processor, we are using an AMD Ryzen 7 7800X3D. Pretty badass gaming CPU right there. Don't come much better than that unless you really spend some money like on one of those higher priced Intel things. That's debatable whether that's better or not, but 7800X3D is what we're doing here in Alex's build. And for the motherboard, we are going to use an ASRock B650M Pro RS Wi-Fi board. Now this board is pretty similar to the same board that I used for my son's build. His, of course, was the B620 or whatever it is. And his runs just awesome, and I love the colors on his, and I kind of like that silver that we had going on here, and I wanted to go a little bit the same here because this is obviously going to be a white build that we're doing here, but I didn't want the weaker chipset like my son's got, because my son just uses mainly emulators and stuff. We wanted something a little more stronger, a little more capable. That's why we went with the B650 on this one here. So this is going to look pretty neat in this build. Right over here, we've got our 360 AIO, which is a frozen knot from Thermalright. Pretty nice AIO, also in white. It's got like an infinity mirror effect going on there. Our power supply, we are running a fully modular Corsair 750 watt power supply. Nice quality power supply there. And then our fans, we kind of cheaped out on a little bit. No big deal, but I am using some Thermalright stuff in there. Now I got one extra 140 because what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace that 120 in the back there with a 140. So we got 140s in the front, 140s in the back. And then, of course, this one comes with its own fans in there. So that's 3 fans there. And then I got some more Thermalright 120s right here that we can place on the bottom. So we're going to fill this thing up with fans, of course. And then, of course, I got some RGB strips that I'm going to throw in here, and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And, of course, the extensions, which are upstairs, I think, somewhere. I got to go grab them. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and put the CPU in, put the memory in. We'll get this board into the case, and we'll fire it up for its initial test run here. And then we'll come back and we'll talk about that. We'll see you in just a minute. Well, alrighty, the board is now in, the M.2 is in, the memory's in, of course the CPU is in. Now is a good time to evaluate our other connections that are going to come out from this. But before I do that here, I just want to show you this. One of the things I like to do if I'm using like a micro ATX board in an ATX case is I'll actually take the wires that get plugged into the bottom there, and I'll run them through the bottom of the motherboard so that they're not sticking out like right here in this area. Just kind of a little thing I do just to kind of tuck them back in there. But anyways, let's look at this here. Like I said, what we want to look at is, well, first of all, how many fan ports that we have, and it's a good idea to check this out before you buy your board. And another thing is we're going to look at how many RGB we have in here. Now, on this one, we've got 5 total to work with on the fans. We got one right here for the CPU, one right over here in the corner that we can plug our pump in for the AIO. We've got 3 fan headers down here, so for a total of 5. Now, of course, we're going to have a shit ton of fans in here. We're going to have 3 on top, 3 on the side, 2 here, 1 in the back. So how are we going to split that up? Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use, of course, the top one here for the 3 fans on top. This here is where the pump's going to get plugged into. One of the leads down at the bottom here is going to control this fan. This lead down here is going to control these 2 fans, and the final lead is going to control the 3 front fans. So that should work out just fine for us. Now, I don't want to combine different sizes of fans on the same header. That's one of the reasons I'm splitting them up the way that I am. For instance, we don't want our 140s running on the same header as some 120s, because obviously when it's picking up the RPM signal, these fans are going to spin at a different rate than the 120s are. So we kind of want to equalize that out. That's why I'm kind of splitting the 120s down by themselves, and these here are going to be on a 3-way splitter by themselves, and this one back here is going to be a single. So that should work out just fine. Now, RGB, we've got 3. We've got 1 here, and 1 over on the side here by the memory. Those are all addressable. And then also by the side of the memory, you can't really see it in here. I don't really have it focused on that, but there is a 12-volt 4-pin, which I am not going to utilize. Now, the nice thing about having 3 different RGB leads here is we can kind of focus our RGB on different points. Like, for instance, I could use one for, like, say, this section, one for this section, and then one for, like, the RGB on the AIO and the RGB on the strip, and which is probably what I'm going to do. So when you got a situation like that, now keep in mind that, we're going to need splitters. We're going to need PWM splitters here. You have to figure out how many you're going to want, how many you're going to need. These fans here, one thing I don't like about them is they're a little short on the cables, but that's something that the RGB splitter that I'm using and the extensions and stuff that I'm using are going to come into play to make it all work out for us. Now, another thing that I did, another modification that I did, is I pulled this damn thing off. As you can, if you remember from the first video, I did not like this. This is the RGB controller for this thing. It's got a little plug thing right there that you can push the button on top with. That's where this connects into. I pulled that out, and I actually hooked that up to the reset function here on the motherboard. So we're going to use the LED button on top as the reset button, like it usually is on most cases. And then this here we're just going to toss in the trash. And we're going to go with the onboard RGB on this. So that's going to look pretty neat. Don't know what else to say continuing on here, but I'm going to go ahead and get the power supply in next. And probably the AIO, just so we can do a test boot on that Ryzen there. And we'll continue from there. So let me cut this scene. I'll see you in a sec. All right, I am progressing along here. I do have the AIO installed. I ran into a little bit of a hiccup here, as you can see. Wasn't able to mount it up on top. Basically, problem that you typically run into with these damn things is I did not have the clearance here with the memory. So, of course, I had to resort to putting the AIO in the front, which was no big deal. If you look right here, you can see I'm actually still using all three of those 140 millimeter fans, even though the AIO is, of course, 360, which, of course, takes the regular 120 millimeter fans. Now, the reason for that is because this case is nice, that it has some screw. You can see them right here. Here's one. Screws on it that I can use to pull off this entire front with the fans and mount this radiator in here like this on the other slot with some other screws, and then pop that back on, screw it back down, so that I can actually run 140 millimeter fans on the AIO instead of the 120s, which is nice. I like that. So it doesn't really change too much. It just means, we can put just the fans here instead. That's all right. But as you can see, it is running there, and if we look up on our other monitor up here, you can see that it is in fact booted, so it did pass the initial boot test here just fine. So we're rocking along. Now all I have to do is do my wiring for my fans and put the GP or the graphics card in, install Windows, and then we're rocking on here. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out, that on this case you can, if you wanted to, use 140 millimeter fans on a 240 or 360 AIO. Pretty cool, huh? Now, as you can see, I've only got 2 memory sticks in here. Now, for gaming and in general, we want to run these in pairs, not in 4. I could have put 4 in here, but not when you're building something for a gaming computer, because what happens is you're not going to be able to run the memory at the speed that you want to run it when you are running with 4. A lot of people see this like, oh, I bought 4 sticks and I can't get my X amp to go to such and such speed. Why is that? Well, the reason behind that is because of the way the memory is wired into the motherboard there, the way the circuits run. It actually, when you run like 4 of them in like that, what you're doing essentially is daisy chaining your memory. And that, how do I explain it? I don't really want to get into why this happens, but the circuitry just does not keep up well with it if you're trying to run it at a higher speed. Now, if you look up here, you can see that I have it running at 6,000 megahertz on the memory speed, which is what I want to do. Now, if I added 2 more sticks of the exact same memory in here, I more than likely am not going to be able to run it at that 6,000 speed. I'd have to look at the exact spec on this board to know for certain, but typically, no, you can't. So in this case, when you're setting it up for gaming like this, 2 sticks is actually better than 4 sticks. Even though, 4 sticks would look cooler, but, that's all right, man. We're rocking along good. So let me cut this scene here. I'm going to continue on here, and I will come back when I'm done. All right, moving right along here. The build is now completed. Let me back up there, let you see it a little bit better here on the screen. As you can see, I put the white video card in here. I'm actually running a Steel Legend Radeon RX 7800 XT in here. I figured that would be a perfect bad boy to put in with this badass 7800 X3D. Great combination going on here. I got a gray and white theme going on, as you can see, with our extensions and what have you. We got, 8 fans in here? 3, 6, 7, 8. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 9 fans going on in here. I did make one change, though, as I was doing this, and that was actually to the RGB. I totally forgot how much ASRock's RGB implementation sucks on all their motherboards. I like, MSI does an alright job, Gigabyte's alright, and Asus is alright, but ASRock, when it comes to RGB, it just sucks ass, and I forgot about that until I had them plugged in, and I was looking at them and going, ew, that looks like shit. And you can't really control it very well with the software that they give you either. And I actually tried a couple different other software programs and didn't have much luck with them. So I thought, you know what, fuck this. I'm just gonna just gut all that all completely. I disconnected them and I put in a different RGB controller in here that actually will run on the remote. Um, and it also has the power to run all 9 fans plus the pump RGB plus the strip. Looking pretty good here now. So I guess we can actually go to the screen and take a look at the stats on this, and then we'll do the final reveal, and I'll boot this thing up here and let you see what it looks like. Pretty nice computer so far. So let me cut this scene, and let's go to the screen. Alrighty here, like I said, the build is done. Let's go ahead and switch my keyboard over here and take a look at a couple stats. Starting with Unigine Heaven benchmark, we'll take a look at this. 458 frames a second with a max of 919.8 FPS. Holy shit. Now that is just incredible. For Heaven anyways. 919. I think that's the highest I've ever benched one. That's just wow. Anyways, going to our next stat, we're going to look at Cinebench here. Cinebench was also pretty amazing. You can see in Cinebench here, it scored at 18,880. Not too far off from that 19,000 mark. Now, I know there are people that do some overclocking and stuff that do get it past the 19,000 mark on Cinebench. I did do a slight overclock to this. I set the performance down to a negative 30. And then I did a little bit more aggressive memory timings. I don't really get into talking about the overclocking too much because I'm not really into it too much. But the 7800X3D is actually pretty simple for the most part to do an overclock on. So I did just a kind of a slight one to it here to get the numbers to where they're at, where you're seeing them on the screen there, 18,880. On the single core, we scored, let's take a look here, 1,811. Pretty decent for Cinebench. And just for posterity's sake here, to take a look at the stats on this, let me go ahead and open up Task Manager here. Go to Performance, and you can see CPU, we are running the AMD Ryzen 7 7800X3D again. Like I said, virtualization is actually disabled here. I did that for testing because I'm actually kind of focused more on gaming on this than everyday use, because I'm pretty sure that's what Alex is going to be using this for, is mainly gaming. So I actually turned off virtualization this time. We got 32 gigs of the Corsair Dominator memory. As I had mentioned, we're running it at 6,000 megahertz speed. Like I said, I'm running kind of some more aggressive timings on this memory than I normally would do. Disk 0 is our 2 terabyte Solidum NVMe drive. And GPU, we are running the AMD RX 7800 XT. Pretty good combo going on here with the 7800 XT and the 7800 X3D. That's a pretty sweet CPU here. And if you wanted to later on, you know, this is actually kind of overkill on the CPU for this GPU. If you want to talk about bottlenecking and that's something that concerns you, I mean, he could obviously later on upgrade to something even more powerful than that on the GPU if he feels like it. But that's going to be it for the stats on this. So now I guess it's time to cut the scene here. And let's have a look here at the final build. All right, so here's the completed build. Now let's start out with the RGB here on the bottom that I started the video out with, that I was doing a kind of a modification on. You can see kind of, and the camera, I'll tell you this right now, the camera does not do this any justice. Actually, let me go ahead and shut off the lights here so we can check this out. Check out this effect that's happening down at the bottom here. Let's see, maybe I can zoom in on this a little bit. Almost looks like a kind of like a laser beam effect shooting up there. Now I have this set to white right now, but you can see kind of a different colors, and you can see some green, some red, some blue. And that's because of the different. If you know what a LED bulb looks like that's RGB, it actually has the red, green, and blue colors in it, and they light up at different intensities to make the colors that you see. But with this reflective holographic vinyl wrap there, it actually breaks that light up, and so what you get is kind of a cool looking laser beam effect going on there. I'm loving that. And of course, you can see our temperature right there of the CPU and the GPU displaying on the screen. We can get in a little bit closer here. You can see the rest of the PC lighting up. Everything is all matching up, of course, and coordinated in there. Let's actually take this and turn it this way a little bit here. Maybe turn the direction here a little bit so you can have a look at that. That is pretty neat. Let me find the remote here, and we'll actually just switch this to auto mode so that it does some different effects there. But yeah, that's one thing I like about the RGB thing in here. It's got a lot of cool effects on there. Let me turn on the light here so we can see that. But yeah, it was a pretty fun build to do, and this looks really, really cool with that white theme I got going on there. I think Alex is really going to like this. He had asked me, actually, how fast this thing would run Fortnite in performance mode. And I looked at him like, dude, are you serious? Performance mode? And I said, shit, with this graphics card shit, just crank that sucker up on Epic. That's what I would do. But I tell you what, to end this video and for posterity's sake, we are going to run a little bit of Fortnite on this in performance mode, just for Alex to see and for everyone else to see what this thing will do in Fortnite. I do have another build coming up. That's probably going to be in a couple weeks. This next weekend, I actually have a couple other computers to work on, do some upgrades on, do some fixing for some clients and what have you. Not worth filming, obviously. They're just basic shit that I do. But I do have another build coming up, and the parts are on the way for that one. That one's going to be for a kid named Jaden. So he's up next when I do my next video. Expect to see that one here in a couple weeks, and that's actually going to be in a case that I haven't talked about before. Yay! But all right, so like I said, we're going to end this video off with a little bit of Fortnite, and it's going to be Fortnite in performance mode. So thanks again, you guys, for watching. I'll see you again in the next build, and enjoy the video.